video opens with a warm, inviting shot, perhaps of a quaint old town or a cozy storyteller's room. Hello, and welcome back to our channel. Today, I want to share a story with you. It's a simple tale, one you might have heard in different forms, but its message is timeless. It's the story of a beggar and a loaf of bread. In a bustling town nestled between rolling hills, lived a baker known for his kindness as much as for his delicious bread. Every day, his shop would fill with the warm, comforting aroma of freshly baked goods. And every day, a poor beggar would stand near the shop, not to ask for money, but simply to enjoy that wonderful smell. The baker, a generous soul, noticed the beggar. He saw the quiet joy the man took in the scent of his bread. One day, feeling particularly charitable, the baker decided to do something more. He took a warm, crusty loaf, fresh from the oven, and walked outside. "My friend," he said, handing the loaf to the surprised beggar. "The smell is free, but the bread itself provides nourishment. Please take this." The beggar's eyes widened. He had never asked for anything. He gratefully accepted the bread, his heart swelling with a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long, long time, the warmth of unexpected kindness. Now, this baker wasn't just kind, he was also wise. He saw this daily ritual not as a nuisance, but as an opportunity. He decided to make it a routine. Every single morning, he would give the beggar a loaf of bread. No questions asked, no payment expected, just a simple act of giving. Weeks turned into months, and the baker's daily gift continued. The beggar, in turn, never failed to appear. He would stand patiently, his presence a quiet fixture outside the bustling bakery. He always accepted the bread with a silent nod of profound gratitude, his eyes conveying a thank you that words could not. But as with all things in life, not everyone saw this simple act through the same lens. One of the baker's apprentices, a young man named Leo, watched this daily exchange with growing suspicion. Leo was pragmatic and saw the world in terms of transactions. To him, giving something for nothing made no sense. "Master," he'd say, "why do you give him a whole loaf every day? He does nothing to earn it. You're just wasting good bread." The baker would simply smile and reply, "Patience, Leo. Not all payments are made with coin." Leo couldn't understand. He started to see the beggar not as a person in need, but as a freeloader taking advantage of his master's good nature. A seed of resentment began to grow in his heart. He saw the baker's charity as a weakness. One day, the baker had to travel to a nearby village to source some special flour and left Leo in charge of the shop. "Remember our morning visitor," the baker said before leaving. "Don't forget his loaf." Leo nodded, but inside, he had other plans. This was his chance to teach the beggar a lesson, to show his master that his kindness was being exploited. That morning, as the sun cast its first golden rays over the town, the beggar arrived as usual. He stood in his familiar spot, waiting patiently. Leo watched him from the window, his heart hardening. He took a loaf of bread, just as his master did. But before he went out, he did something cruel. He hollowed out the bottom of the loaf and filled it with sawdust from the workshop floor, carefully plugging the hole with a piece of crust. He walked outside, a false smile on his face. "Here you go," he said, handing the tampered loaf to the beggar. The beggar, unsuspecting, took the bread with his usual grateful nod and walked away to his quiet corner to eat. When he broke the bread, the sawdust spilled out, a wave of confusion, then deep sadness. washed over him. He wasn't angry, just hurt. Why? After months of kindness, why this? He couldn't eat it, of course. With a heavy heart, he tucked the ruined loaf into his satchel and went about his day, his stomach empty, but his spirit heavier. The next day, the baker returned. How did everything go, Leo? He asked. Fine, master, Leo replied smugly. I took care of everything, and our friend got his daily bread. He was eager to see if the beggar would dare to show up again. But the beggar did not appear that morning, nor the next. A week went by, and his familiar spot remained empty. The baker grew concerned. He had never missed a day. He started asking around town. Have you seen the old man who used to stand by my shop? He asked the fruit seller, the blacksmith, the town guard. No one had seen him. The baker's worry deepened. This was more than just a missed loaf of bread. It was a connection, a small but significant part of his day that was now gone. Meanwhile, a strange thing started happening at the bakery. The baker's luck seemed to turn. One morning, a small fire broke out near the oven, ruining a whole batch of dough. Another day, his delivery cart broke an axle, spilling flour all over the street. Then, a wealthy customer, who used to order large quantities of bread for his estate, suddenly canceled his contract without explanation. One small misfortune followed another. The bakery, once a hub of prosperity, began to struggle. Leo saw all this and felt a growing knot of anxiety in his stomach. He couldn't help but connect the bakery's downturn with the beggar's disappearance. The baker's words echoed in his mind. Not all payments are made with coin. Could it be true? Was the beggar's quiet gratitude somehow a form of payment? A blessing that they had now lost? Tormented by guilt, Leo finally broke down and confessed everything to his master. He told him about the sawdust, the cruel trick, and his own bitter resentment. The baker listened silently, his face a mixture of disappointment and sadness. He didn't yell. He didn't scold. He just looked at Leo and said softly, You didn't just cheat a poor man out of a meal, Leo. You broke a chain of goodwill. His gratitude was a gift to us, a silent blessing on this shop. You saw only a loaf of bread, but you failed to see the value in the act of giving itself. The weight of his actions crashed down on Leo. He finally understood. The daily gift wasn't about the bread at all. It was about humanity, about connection, about the unseen energies that flow between us when we act with compassion. Determined to make things right, the baker and Leo closed the shop for the day and went in search of the beggar. They searched every alley, every corner of the town. Finally, they found him huddled in a forgotten nook near the old city wall, looking weaker and sadder than they had ever seen him. The baker approached him gently, holding out two of his finest loaves. Leo stood behind, his head bowed in shame. My friend, the baker said, his voice full of regret, I am so sorry. My apprentice made a terrible mistake. It will never happen again. Please, accept this, and please return to our shop. Your presence there brings us more fortune than any gold coin. The beggar looked from the baker to the ashamed apprentice. He saw the genuine remorse in their eyes. He slowly reached out and took the bread. A faint, weak smile touched his lips. He gave a small nod, not just of thanks, but of forgiveness. From that day on, the beggar returned to his spot. The baker continued his daily gift, and Leo, now humbled, would often be the one to hand him the loaf, always with a look of genuine respect. And as if by magic, The bakery's fortunes turned around. The oven worked perfectly, new customers arrived, and the warm, comforting aroma of bread once again signaled a place of prosperity and, more importantly, of kindness. Leo learned the most valuable lesson of his life. He learned that true wealth isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you give away. The beggar, with his silent gratitude, was never just a receiver, he was a giver too. He gave the gift of humility, of perspective, and of a daily reminder that the most powerful currency in the world is compassion. This story reminds us that our actions, big and small, create ripples. A simple act of kindness can be a blessing, not just for the person receiving it, but for the giver as well. And an act of cruelty, however small it may seem, can break that positive cycle in ways we can't foresee. It encourages us to look beyond the surface, to see the value in things that can't be counted or weighed, like gratitude, respect, and human connection. Thank you so much for joining me for this story today. I hope it gave you something to think about. What did you take away from it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more stories and reflections. Until next time, be kind to one another